So let's discuss about the pancreas. So we already in the previous parts of this lecture we had already tackled about the classical or the more well-known endocrine gland. So this time let's discuss about pancreas and the other glands or other organs that contribute hormones and considered part of the endocrine gland. So pancreas, as you remember, it's part of the digestive system. It's one of the accessory organs of the digestive system. At the same time, it's also considered an endocrine gland aside from its role as an exocrine gland in the digestive system. This is because, again, of the hormones it produces. So let's look at the pancreas. So pancreas is considered an exocrine gland because, again, exocrine glands are glands that have ducts. So, as an exocrine gland, the pancreas has a duct. So, the exocrine gland function of the pancreas is carried out by the acini cells. They secrete digestive enzyme through the duct. So, if you remember from our lecture in the digestive system, the pancreas produces different types of actually enzymes that helps digest sugar and fats. So, usually in sugar, lipid and even protein digestion. Now, it also secretes hormones as an endocrine gland, and this is carried out by the islet of Langerhans, the group of cells, or actually this is a tissue in the pancreas. So they secrete several hormones involved in maintaining blood glucose levels. So this is basically your pancreas. In Tagalog, it's lapay. So, here is your the pancreatic acinar cells, which is basically the cortex. And then the inside, you have your alpha, beta, and delta cells. So, the alpha cells are known to secrete glucagon, which has the opposite effect to insulin. Insulin is secreted by the beta cells. And then you have delta cells, which secrete somatostatin. So, this is your islet of Langerhans. And basically, this cell, or we have these three types of cells, each secreting its own type of hormones. So, all in all, your pancreas secretes glucagon, insulin, and somatostatin. So, the alpha cells for glucagon. So, glucagon, the action of glucagon is to stimulate the liver and muscle cells to break down glycogen into glucose and thus increase blood glucose level. So, as I said, glucagon has the opposite effect to insulin. So, just a reminder, glycogen are the storage sugar of our body. So, they are long-chain expanded glucose molecules that serve as the storage of sugar in the liver. And then we have beta cells. The beta cells are the ones that produce insulin. Insulin, among the hormones, is actually one of the most well-known hormones because of its therapeutic function for those with diabetes. So the insulin stimulates the liver like glucagon, but instead of telling the liver to break down glycogen to glucose, insulin tells the liver to take up glucose from the blood and, well, either store it or use it, but mostly for the liver, in the case of the liver, store it. Store or produce more glycogen. So, for the muscles, it tells your, the cells, or rather, the insulin initiates a cascade of reaction that ends in that you have the increase in the glucose transporter on the surface of the muscle cells. So basically, that's the effect of the insulin in the muscle. So fat cells, again, similarly, it tells the fat cells, the adipose cells, to take up glucose from the blood. And then we have the less well-known hormone, somatostatin. It is produced by the delta cells and it inhibits the production of insulin, glucagon, human growth hormone, and several other hormones and other glands. So somatostatin has the opposite effect for many of the hormones that are produced by the other endocrine glands, including, of course, the pancreas as well. So that's somatostatin. Now, diseases of the pancreas. The most well-known one is the type 1 diabetes mellitus. So, it's a type 1 diabetes, used to be called juvenile diabetes because of its early onset. So, it usually appears before age 25. So, when pancreas suddenly stops making functional insulin. So, this is usually an autoimmune disease, again, caused by your body attacking your body. So, your immune cells, your own immune system, destroy your own cells within the islet of the Langerhans. So, basically, the beta cells. So, if the beta cells are destroyed, who will produce insulin? So, basically, insulin production will stop. So, the treatment involves monitoring blood glucose levels and injecting insulin when glucose levels are high. So, insulin stimulates the liver, the muscles, and fat cells to take up glucose, lowering blood glucose level. So, basically, type 1 diabetes can be remedied, although this is not a long term. This is more of, since you have no more beta cells that produce insulin, you need to have a consistent insulin injection in your body. And then we have type 2. Type 2 diabetes is the adult onset diabetes because it appears during adulthood. Although now, it is being seen in children, and this is because of lifestyle changes. So even though blood contains abnormally high levels of insulin, the cells cannot absorb glucose properly. So here, in this case, insulin injection is not the option for, it's not really the remedy for this type 2 diabetes. So the insulin, your cells of the body are not responding to insulin. So you're left with still high levels of glucose despite having insulin. So this is strongly associated with the family history of diabetes, older age, obesity, and lack of exercise. So this is more common in women. So this is a more problematic type of diabetes. So, regarding this insulin and glucagon level, so let's look at how we regulate blood glucose level. So, rising blood glucose levels stimulate the production and secretion of insulin. So, basically, if you have high glucose levels in your blood, your pancreas it will stimulate the secretion of insulin. So, the insulin will circulate in the blood and is absorbed. It tells the cells, the different cells of the body, to lower blood sugar levels by absorbing the glucose from the blood. So let's look at this image here. So if you have let's say high blood let's not start at what? Let's start at number 5. High blood glucose levels. So it stimulates insulin production. So this is care of the beta cells. So you have insulin now in your bloodstream. So the insulin acts on the body cells, causing them to take in glucose. So as it takes in glucose, your blood glucose level falls. That is because the glucose in the blood is now inside the muscles. So the blood glucose level drops below. If there's too much insulin, it can potentially drop below the normal value. So instead of hyperglycemia, you now have hypoglycemia. Now what happens next? So if you have very low, so let's say low blood glucose level, so this time it's the time for glucagon to act. So this is care of the alpha cells. So alpha cells produce glucagon, and it will also, like insulin, it will also act on the liver cells and the muscle cells. But this time, it will tell the liver to release the glucose from the glycogen instead of, for the case of insulin tells the liver to absorb more sugar from the blood. Glucagon will tell the liver to release sugar into the bloodstream. And the muscle cells will stop, or rather inhibit, or it will tell the muscles, do not absorb too much sugar. So ending is that you will raise the blood glucose level in the body. So basically, this action of the glucagon and insulin, they are basically controls of one another. So if you have high blood sugar level, it's the action of insulin, but too much insulin, it will cause the blood sugar level to drop too low, and so it's time for the glucagon to act on. So basically, that is your basically control. So they are somewhat like antagonists of each other. They have opposite effects. So basically, that is regulation of the blood glucose levels. So other organs that also secrete hormones, we have the kidneys. So we already had mentioned some of these in our lecture on the urinary system. We have erythropoietin, which stimulates the production of red blood cells, increasing blood volume and blood pressure. We have calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D that simulates absorption of calcium and phosphate along the digestive tract. And we have renin, an enzyme produced that is involved in blood pressure and blood volume. So it lowers blood pressure and causes the kidney cells to secrete, lowered blood pressure causes the kidney cells to secrete renin, and causing the secretion of aldosterone, an increase in thirst and water retention. So the action of this renin result in blood volume increase, renal blood flow increase, and blood pressure increase. So that's renin. And then we also have those secreted by the heart, atrial natriuretic peptide or ANP, which decrease blood volume and blood pressure by causing water loss. So this is the opposite effect of renin in the kidneys. So it occurs in response to the stretching of cells within the atria of the heart. So the stimulus is the stretching because there's so much blood, the pressure is too high. So this excess stretching is caused by the increased blood volume. So in order to avoid too much blood volume, your heart will secrete ANP. Now, other hormones secreted by the intestines. This is actually in obesity research, this is being well studied and of interest right now. The gastrin, which stimulates stomach secretion. We have cholecystokinin, which causes the release of bile, and we have the secretin, which causes the pancreas to secrete digestive enzymes into the duodenum. And also, these enzymes can also control our feeling or hormones. These hormones can help as an effect on our feeling of hunger and satiety. So that is why it is of interest to the people researching obesity, because of course hunger and satiety is also a factor why people tend to eat too much, and because of that they tend to grow obese. Okay, so other local hormones, we have the paracrines. These are compounds produced by one cell and released into the local environment. So unlike the endocrine hormones, whereas the action, the cells, the glands, or the hormones are produced in one part of the body, but the effect is on the basically long range effect. So in another part, these paracrines are only on the surrounding or the locality. So examples are histamines and prostaglandins, which cause localized inflammation and fluid leakage. So this is a short distance effect of the hormones with a very short distance effect. And then we have autocrines, hormones that act on the cells that release it. So that's why it's called auto, because basically auto is self. So the effect is on the self. So example is interleukin-2 that targets the cell that release it to proliferate. So interleukin-2 is basically a hormone in the immune system. So it tells the immune cells to proliferate. For example, if there's an invasion of the viral or bacterial invasion, you need a lot of soldiers to stem the invasion. So interleukin-2 will tell the soldiers, which is basically your blood lymphocytes, to proliferate. So you will have enough number to combat basically to combat the invaders. Well, something like that. Okay, so that's for the other organs that secrete hormones and has an effect in maintaining balance and maintenance of the body. Now let's look at development. So development takes us from infancy to adulthood. So endocrine gland hormones direct growth and maturation. So from the neonatal period and infancy through childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And it also direct senescence or aging, which is basically hormonal control or lack thereof. So the endocrine system directs patterned growth of bones, muscles, and nervous tissue through the end of childhood. It also maintains healthy metabolic rate, monitors sleep patterns, maintains iron and water balance, and regulates blood levels of calcium and glucose. So all of the things that we talked about in the previous parts of this lecture, so basically this is the application of that. So infancy is a time of rapid development. It occurs from 2 months until 15 months of age and has the body systems maturing, control improves, and body proportions began to shift. So coordination continuously improves. So by the 14 months, most infants are walking. So immune system is also developing. That's why the thymus is larger. And vaccinations require small doses and boosters. So that's infancy. And childhood, at the childhood stage, it lasts from age 2 until 12, where the brain reaches 95% of its growth size and the body and organ systems grow. So at puberty, the endocrine system stimulates the appearance of the secondary sex characteristics and the production of eggs or sperm. So puberty is defined as the onset of the menstrual cycles in females and the appearance of nocturnal emissions in males. So puberty is directed by the production of gonadotropin-releasing hormones or GnRH from the hypothalamus. So GnRH causes the release of the FSH and LH. So if you remember, these are the sex hormones by the anterior pituitary gland. So in females, the ovaries respond by maturing egg follicles and producing estrogen and causing the appearance of secondary sex characteristics. While in males, the testes respond by producing sperm and testosterone. So that's at puberty. So at around the teenage years, 12 to 17, there's the final growth spurt. So you have the human growth hormone causes a rapid increase in the size of the muscular and skeletal systems. So if you remember, when you are in elementary or even until grade 6, most of your female classmates, if you are a male classmates, if you're a male, most of your female classmates are either taller than you, or actually a majority of the males are smaller than the females. That is because most of the females usually mature early, show sexual characteristics earlier than males. That is the usual. But anyway, when you reach around third year high school, or because of the K-12 system, that's around grade 8, 9, or even 10. If before it's your female classmates are taller than you, when you reach third year high school or grade 9 or 10, basically you will see that there's a very fast and rapid growth spurt. So immediately, most of the male students are now taller than their female classmates. So basically, that is the growth spurt in the puberty or adolescent age. So internal organs also grow as the lungs, stomach, and kidneys double in size, and the brain increases by approximately 5%. And then adulthood. So adulthood begins after puberty is reached. So this is a long stage lasting from approximately 15 or 18 until the age of death. So at age 40, you start to show the signs of aging. And after 50, predictable aging related changes arrive. So a healthy diet and regular exercise can slow the process of aging, but does not stop it. So there are three explanations for aging. So first is the limit on cellular division. So if you remember gene replication, there only a certain limit. There is a limit on how many times our cells can grow. This is because of the telomeres at the ends of the DNA. So the telomeres, the length of the telomeres tells us how long the cells, or rather the DNA can be replicated, or that means how many mitotic cycles you have. That means there's a limit on how your cells can be renewed. And because of this limited number of cell division, cells stop dividing and die. And of course, when your cells die, of course, your body breaks down. And so aging happens. So aside from that, accumulated cellular damage because of inability to repair damaged DNA. Again, one of the limits imposed by limits imposed by the DNA itself. And the demise of the organ system. Why do we weaken the organ systems? Because the cells of these organ systems are no longer renewed. Because again, there's a limit on the number of renewal of the cells. So that is aging. So we have several effects of aging. I won't dwell too much on this one. So basically, this is the part where you have your systems. Each system begins to break down because the ultimate cause is again the limit on how many times our cells can can undergo mitosis and hence undergo renewal. And so that's the end of this lecture on the endocrine system.